Okay, haven't done this in a bit, but I think that it's about time that I review yet another game. Now, there's been a couple of games that I've been wanting to do reviews on, and those might go up as like Patreon-only ones, or like member-only ones when I unlock those. The main reason being is because there's just been so much stuff here. Those scripts have become so old that, quite honestly, you might just release them as extra content to post on wherever I post them on. I really need to get around to doing that stuff because I just have been very, very lazy. Might just post just the audio for both of them since, it's not good. I've also been thinking about other content that I could possibly create, bringing back some old stuff. But this one I wanted to talk about because, quite honestly, since there is a lull in the gaming industry and a lull in the gaming news, thank God, let's talk about a fun game that actually, has some fun times to it. With that being said, this is my review of A Gori Cuddly Combat. Oh boy. Okay. So yeah, again, I haven't done this in a while because, of the background and commentaries and stuff, but I want to review this game because I want to put some of the gameplay of this in the background of my videos and some of them, and I just want to point people to this video just in case people start asking what the heck the gameplay that I'm using is called, because I don't like to put it in the description for whatever reason, because it tends to hurt algorithm stuff. But Gori Cuddly Combat is about, a few different things. The overall general synopsis of the story is that you are an anthropomorphic toy cat made by a toy company that was also responsible for a toy apocalypse back down on Earth. This slowly gets revealed to you over time, but again, it's very apparent from the get-go. This toy factory on Earth is also fine. You need to fight a bunch of these zombie unicorns, as well as several different generals, in order to create sort of a giant laser pointer to be able to defeat the evil menace of the game. And also happen to want to find your doctor friend who has been leaving you messages this entire time, and it is currently lost, though apparently not dead, though the unfortunate thing is very strange here. Now, of course, this is not even getting into the fact that you are riding on a wisecracking hoverboard with blades and a mace for a hand, and can also be used as a shield, with another companion called Chip, who is the AI of the ship, who basically has depression, and that's his whole main character thing, but not in a very bad way, but in a very I get that feeling kind of way. There's also another one where you have a giant bear who had ripped his face off and became evil for whatever reason, as well as a goldfish that thinks that he is a human and has a wife that is a mannequin. So yes, we are on that type of stuff today. Strap in, because this is only going to get funnier. So overall, the entirety of the game is fairly simple. As you can see from the outset, it just seems to be your typical hack and slash type of game with bashing and combos and stuff, and an amazing explosion of gore, as well as a style that is very reminiscent of several different types of games. But again, we'll get into that in a little bit. The combat seems to be very inspired by things such as Devil May Cry, and with a grading system on your combat and skills to get you a high score, with each of the different levels like A, B, C, D, E, F, P, double P, and triple P, all really kind of being the top tier of the combat itself. And again, so much as this combat is very satisfying to pull off, it also has executions of different animations that you can kind of see, and a variety of enemies that gets introduced and slowly drip-fed over time, the majority of which seems to be unicorns, mutated zombie unicorns, which, yeah, that is a thing. It is just as insane as it sounds, but again, they are varied enough to where they have some with range, some with flamethrowers, some that shoot, some with giant pincers and slicers and whatnot. So it's not like you're going to be going through this combat scenario just with going through and just button mashing. though I've been able to button mash pretty effectively. The two hits that combos that you have is your heavy attack, which is your bashing attack, which is like the blunt stuff, as well as your blades, which basically can't cut through specific shields. So, yeah. In order to do some of these other long form stuff, you need to hold down the RT button, which I would recommend a controller for this game because it just kind of felt better with the controller versus the mouse and keyboard, which, again, I don't think that this one really works with it, but again, that's just the thing, even on PC. So, yeah, but that's just my personal preference for this type of game. A few other things is you have this power meter that you have to charge up in order to continue like the chain attacks, which is where you hold down RT and you dash and move around and stuff like that. That can easily be replenished by just grinding on the environment, specifically grinding on rails or grinding on these billboards that are usually placed around the arenas of which you battle in. So it's kind of, again, like an arena hack and slash type game, like I said before. You also then get a rocket launcher in like the second or third level, so that's not really a spoiler as well. But you can also turn this rocket launcher into shooting the cars from the Cybertruck, which I find the most hilarious. And yeah, we'll get into that in a bit when I talk about the art style and stuff like that. But overall, the combat feels very nice, very satisfying to pull off, and when you get like that perfect score the first time, you just kind of want to keep chasing that high because it continues to do that. The higher your combos, the higher the difficulty, the more money that you can earn to spend on things like cosmetics, as well as upgrades to your character, which I am going on the just normal difficulty, which, to be honest, is fine. The difficulties really only gives you like more money and stuff. So yeah, there's 4 difficulties here. One you have to unlock by probably completing the game on the highest difficulty available to you at the time. So it creates like a really big challenging mode. I found that the challenging of the regular mode is good enough. So, it's whatever. But as for simply the other stuff, the enemy variety is very nice with enough things to keep you occupado within the combat for it to be able to maneuver around is fun. Maneuvering around the environment and the movement is always a super fun time, especially considering that this is a hoverboard, which means that you're not constantly moving. The animations are fantastic in this, and the bosses the bosses are very unique whenever you're like looking at them. They do happen to have several different bosses at this moment in time, and there's only like 8 levels, so not everything that's the great. But again, for $20, that's 8 levels is fine. 16 if you count some of the side stuff. But overall, I just think that it's really good, and you can get higher ranks and get good high scores and stuff like that, and it's all just super duper fun, and yeah, very old school and not the most graphically intensive, going on into the graphics and the cosmetics here. The art style itself is very comic book heavy, and I will say that the art style is what made me want to get this game, because yeah, it's basically like the same thing as, say, a very stylized thing like the Walking Dead Telltale games, but also more specifically, I guess, like Beautiful Joe and Hi-Fi Rush, where the onomatopoeias and the sounds of what you're doing kind of explode out and create these like the thing within the actual explosion or smoke or whatever. And I know that seems like a really small, nitpicky thing to talk about with this, but overall, it is fantastic how much it is done here. And it also has very good action, and the explosions of gore and everything just looks really good. Even the comic book stylings that it has seems to be very much inspired by these same sorts of games. The cell shading is very cool. Some of the techniques that's used, such as the parts where you can kind of see like the Ben-Day dots where it's supposed to be like someone hand drew it in a comic book, looks really cool. Some of the cutscenes, yeah, they're a little low effort because it's more of like a PowerPoint presentation in a comic book type situation, more or less, but there are in-game cutscenes that are kind of really done well. The mocap work and the dialogue and stuff, to me, had me rolling on the floor laughing, personally. It's that old early 2000s type of humor that I like because, again, it kind of reminds me a lot of the early 2000s type games, but when those types of games were just like taken into and put into a physical game, which I am just all here for. So again, there's a total of about 8 different missions in which you can find a key to unlock specific rooms in your ship. And these rooms, like all a hat in time, because it's like the hub area. So these are kind of quote unquote hidden. It's the only like hidden object that you can find currently in the game. But it does serve a purpose, and they are themed after each of the levels that you just completed, which I think is really cool. I think it's very nice. You also get like an audible like sound in your headphones for when you can actually find these things, so you might want to keep your headphones on and be paying even a modicum amount of attention. You'll probably find all of them within your first run through of this game, which is completely fine. So it's not the most secretive stuff, but again, they do actually serve purposes, at least the first few rooms. The first room is for like upgrading yourself, and it also houses the laser pointer. The second room has more of like training and stuff. The third room has things you can do on the information for stuff. And again, so on and so forth, themed after each of the actual levels within the game. And it's actually really cool. Again, that you only have, it sucks that you only have about 16 levels. Again, 8 mainstay ones with 8 ones that are side content stuff. And that's fine. Using that, you can also get in-game currency, which gives you access to upgrading your character, which I would recommend that you do, as the enemies do tend to get harder and harder as you go throughout the game, obviously. So doing more and more damage is obviously going to be very helpful, though I would love to see an interesting run where someone does like no upgrades at all, which is really funny. One of the upgrades, though, that was really funny to me was the profanity filter, where you can get it to where the main board that you have doesn't get his curse words bleeped, which this game is very M-rated, but like the fun kind of M-rated, where they're just like, oh, we're just gonna make the most outrageous thing and smoke all the stuff all at once and do all the drugs. So yeah, again,